Time now for 1 full hour of nitro-fueled NHRA talk. It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, your hosts, Marty Hough and 10-time NHRA winner Doug Herbert.
You're listening to The Straight Line on drag racing at MRN.com. Thanks for being here for our 1 hour of horsepower. Appreciate you joining us. It's been a busy day. It was a busy weekend, and we will recap everything after a crazy Sunday at the zoo in Brainerd. Top Fuel winner Richie Crampton will be here. Pro Stock victor Erica Ender-Stevens stops by. Funny Car Wally winner Robert Hight chats with us, as well as the finalist from Funny Car, or from the Top Fuel ranks. Brittany Force will also be here. The burnout is complete, and we're set to launch another edition of The Straight Line. Welcome in wherever you may be. This is MRN.com. It is The Straight Line on a Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for joining us. My name is Marty Hough, and not here with my normal co-host and colleague, Doug Herbert, who has an excused day off. Doug right now is in Washington, D.C., speaking in front of Congress. He's there to discuss the epidemic of teen driving deaths in this country. Now, obviously, there's no more qualified person to speak on this matter, as Doug's Brakes Foundation is working hard to reduce the amount of teen deaths with the advanced driving schools that Brakes provides. And so, obviously, he has a big job ahead of him today, and a very important one, as it really is an epidemic right now with the amount of teen deaths that are happening with kids behind the wheel. So Doug was invited to Washington, D.C. to speak in front of members of Congress and a congressional panel, and hopefully the word gets out to people that make decisions in this country about the problems with teen driving deaths in this country. Doug will be here next week, and we will be here to discuss the upcoming Big Go, the U.S. Nationals coming up in a couple of weeks, and we'll be here with a preview of that, so we cannot wait. But first, and by the way, if you need more information on the Brakes Foundation, go to putonthebrakes.org. Remember that the Brakes Gala is coming up on September 17th. There's still a couple of seats available. Lots to do here. That's going to be the weekend of the Carolina Nationals here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. So if you're in town for the NHRA races that weekend, make sure to sign up for the Brakes Gala on Thursday, September 17th. And it's a big fundraiser for the Brakes organization. Coming up on the show today, Richie Crampton will be here. Morgan Lucas Racing just ought to go ahead and, or maybe Brainerd should just go ahead and change the name of their raceway to Morgan Lucas Racing Facility, because they've basically owned that place for the last 7-8 years. Morgan Lucas, a 3-time winner there, and now Richie Crampton goes up to the zoo and takes his first Wally out of Brainerd, and we will talk to him about a really crazy 4 runs that he had this weekend. Not all of them were really good. Sometimes it takes a little bit of mojo. Obviously, Morgan Lucas Racing has a lot of mojo at Brainerd. We will talk to the Top Fuel winner at Brainerd, Richie Crampton, coming up. A really well-timed victory for Robert Hight, breaking a 20. It's hard to believe, but Robert Hight's last victory in Funny Car was 26 races ago. He was at 10th place and fighting for just a spot in the countdown, and puts a lot of gap between he and others behind him now going into the U.S. Nationals in a couple of weeks with a very, very well-timed win at Brainerd. We will talk to Robert Hight. We'll also talk to his Top Fuel teammate Brittany Force will be here. She was in the final in a really good run for them. One of the things about the monster team at John Force Racing is that they're known for their consistency more than anything else. But when you have the types of conditions that they had at Brainerd, well, you're expecting huge runs. They had more consistent runs, got them to the finals. Really interesting story. And we'll also talk to Erica Ender-Stevens. She was the Pro Stock winner and heading into the U.S. Nationals, where she has not won. She is the reigning champion, but has not won a U.S. Nationals. And we'll get her thoughts about that coming up here in just a couple of minutes. But if you didn't catch all the action, or if some of that really kind of got by you over the first two rounds, we're here to recap it because it was absolutely crazy what the fuel cars were doing at Brainerd in those first two runs. So let's kind of recap that right now. The first pair included Spencer Massey and Larry Dixon. Larry Dixon goes out and runs 3,000 slower than the world record, a 370 with a 3. He's 3 thousandths away from setting the world record, or at least tying the world record. But Spencer Massey sets the national top fuel speed record at 332 miles an hour and got put on the trailer. Larry Dixon beats him. Spencer Massey gets the speed record in top fuel, 332 miles an hour, and gets beat. That's been their season so far this year. Right now, Spencer Massey, 10th in points. Got to be a little bit concerning for those guys, especially hitting into Indianapolis. But it was absolutely crazy that the first pair goes out. Spencer Massey gets a record and gets beat. Second pair, again, this is J.R. Todd and Antron Brown. J.R. Todd runs the same exact ET as Larry Dixon, a 370 with a 3, 3 thousandths away from the world record, and he gets beat. Antron Brown, who does set the world record, he runs a 368 with a 0. J.R. Todd runs an almost world record time and gets beat. That's how crazy. That was pretty much what you came to expect out of what was going to happen at BIR. So Antron Brown runs a 368 with a 0. Antron later backs up that run with a 369 with a 6, and now is the current ET world record holder with the 20 extra points coming out of Brainerd for doing so. He beat Sean Langdon. Sean Langdon was previously the world record holder, setting that at Pomona earlier this year. In the second round, now get this, and we're going to talk to Richie Crampton a little bit about this because this absolutely blows my mind. Sean Langdon sets the Brainerd International Raceway track record with the quickest ever top fuel run at 366 with a 2. And does it on 5 cylinders. He's chugging across the line at only, and I'll put it the air quotes, only 321 miles an hour. Unfortunately for Langdon, he didn't have a run to back up that 366, but it's still the quickest run by a dragster, and is obviously the Brainerd International Raceway track record holder at a 366. Then Funny Car comes to the line, and everybody's expecting, well, Jack Beckman's going to just set the world on fire, and he did. But Matt Hagan was the first one to come up. Matt Hagan lowers both ends of the Brainerd International Funny Car record in a funny car, going 3.879 seconds at 329.58 miles an hour. Matt Hagan almost went 330 miles an hour in a funny car. Unbelievable. That is insanity. The speed mark would later stand to give Hagan the national funny car record, but he wouldn't have enough to back up the ET record. So cue Jack Beckman. Beckman comes up and runs a 390 with a 3, which backed up his earlier run on Friday of a 390 with a 1 to establish yet again another funny car record. It just seems every week that these guys are out there just setting world records. It's like, ho-hum, another world record and another 20 points. We'll see what happens at Indianapolis coming up in a couple of weeks. Speaking of which, a big race coming up for this young lady is Indianapolis. But we will first talk about what happened at Brainerd this weekend. We will talk to Erica Ender-Stevens next.
This is The Straight Line. More right after this.
The following is a message from ToyotaRacing.com. Toyota Racing is all about speed and precision, including this ad and our official site, ToyotaRacing.com, where you can find exclusive NASCAR content and videos, series information for our NHRA Off-Road, Toyota Pro, USAC, and motocross teams. Way too many details about all of our drivers, including Denny Hamlin and Matt Kenseth. Complete race results, a constant reminder that you'd rather be watching NASCAR right now. Cool as heck Toyota Racing t-shirts and keychains. Twitter updates, a way to connect with other race fans. Tons of photos of Toyota drivers and their crews in the winner's circle. What can I say? We like to win. Links to other Toyota websites, obviously. In-depth articles, and most importantly, a site to visit when you're pretending to be working but actually are daydreaming about the smell of burnt rubber. Come on, admit it, that's probably what you use it most for anyway, and we're happy with that, just as long as you keep cheering for Team Toyota. If you have any other questions, believe it or not, there's also a section for that at ToyotaRacing.com. Whew, I'm dizzy. NASCAR is a registered trademark of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, Inc.
It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now here's Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Thanks for being here on The Straight Line this week. Doug Herbert is in Washington, D.C. as we speak, with a little discussion for the people in Congress. But right now we are joined on the telephone line by the driver of the Elite Performance Chevy Camaro. Erica Ender-Stevens joins us, the winner in the Pro Stock category at Brainerd in the Lucas Oil Nationals. First of all, congratulations, Erica. Thanks for being here. You'd mentioned that you'd kind of, quote, struggled over the last couple of events. Can we put struggled in quotations as, well, we were just trying things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've talked about before, we're one of the teams that doesn't test as much as the other guys, and we use our qualifying runs to do a lot of testing. So, even though we seem to struggle, we're certainly learning stuff, and everything just really came together in Brainerd last week, and we were excited to get another win. It seemed like it had been a while since we had been in the winner's circle, and even though it was just at Bristol, it seemed like a decade.
Yeah, there was a 3-hour rain delay, and obviously that sets things back. Everybody in the fuel pits, and the big talk is, oh man, we're going to see record speeds, we're going to see record times, and we just talked about that in the open. But for the naturally aspirated vehicles, that wasn't necessarily the case. So for the layman's like me, explain why it wasn't a big weekend for you guys in Pro Stock.
Well, we run our cars a lot differently than the fuel guys do. Obviously, we're naturally aspirated, and we require a great barometer and not a lot of water in the air to be able to run record speeds and ETs. So during the Brainerd weekend, there was quite a bit of water in the air. On Saturday, there was over 90 grains of water.
Whew.
Sunday, we were right around 50 or 60. So it's still pretty humid, and even though it was cold, I mean, that's why you saw the lower 50 runs, but in order for us to have record-setting runs, it needs to be mine shaft conditions, and that requires a great barometer and no water.
How hard is it to drive in colder conditions? I think the view would be, hey, if you got a tight racetrack, you just go in there and hang on. But it seemed like those cars were a bit of a handful this weekend.
Yeah, when the temperatures get cooler like that, and then we're forced to run later in the evening, dew point becomes a concern for Pro Stock guys because it just is so slick down there for us. The fuel guys require a different track prep than we do. We need a lot of VHT for some stickiness, and we don't necessarily get that. But it was different this weekend. Generally, cool temperatures produce marginal racetracks for us, great racetracks for the fuel cars. But this weekend, Mark Lyle and the entire safety safari prepped the track so awesome. Both of my crew chiefs said that it was by far the best racing surface that we had been on all year. So this weekend, it definitely did not apply. The cold weather did not. Usually it's a little bit nerve-wracking, a little bit dangerous, but it was awesome this weekend.
You said, I believe it was after the second round on the radio. Obviously, ESPN was tapping into your radio that there was something different at the hit. You felt a little something different on the launch. Did you find out what that was?
Yeah, we without divulging too many secrets.
Okay.
We've been working with just trying to get the car to leave a little bit better. These new tires have been an extreme challenge for us all year, just trying to learn them. So that particular run, it just kind of like double hit the tire is what I felt. What it translated to is we just kind of initially stuck the tire, and then we got it to do what we wanted it to. But for that split second, it kind of doesn't totally stop it like it sounds like what I'm talking about. But it just, you can definitely feel it in the seat of your pants. And I try to radio back to my guys so that they can make the changes that they need to on our team cars and whatever else. So that was what that was, and we're just just continuously working to try to get better and try to learn these tires and the fuel.
With all the train killers in this class, I mean, we can just go down the list of just the great teams and the great drivers. Now you have to deal with another one in Chris McGahey, who's won the last two in Seattle and Sonoma. You had him in the semifinals. What's it like now to have another one of these drivers that you can go, oh man, here's another guy that can beat us at any time?
Well, I mean, they are doing a great job, and that definitely goes to show what Brian Self, we call him Lump, that's McGaw's crew chief. He does their engine program, and he makes the calls on the car. So he's doing a really, really great job. And, he beat us, me in Sonoma and Jeg as well, and then Jeg in the finals at Seattle. So we wanted to really make a statement run that run. And granted, he had some issues early on. He was late on the tree and then had some mechanical issues and wasn't able to get down the track. But we went out there and threw up the best number of the weekend. And, it was just really, really awesome to be able to do that. And, all in good fun, of course. I don't want to start any drama, but pay him back for knocking us out the last couple weeks. So that was the run of the weekend for us for sure. And then Jason really stepped up to the plate against us in the finals. But fortunately enough, I was able to get off the clutch pedal a little bit before him and get the win. So all of the competitors in Pro Stock, I mean, to answer your question, are very tough. That's why I just try to go up there with the mindset every time that I don't care who's in the other lane. I don't care if it's Chris McGaha or Greg Anderson or, Mark Hogan, who I had first round. It doesn't matter. It's about me, my team, my car, and our lane.
So you're more about the faceless, nameless opponent and racing the racetrack than to go up there and try to get yourself worked up against somebody that you may or may not have a prior issue with or feel like there may be something personal going on.
Yeah, and that's something that I've actually learned over the years. It's not something that I had naturally. I used to race my opponents based on who they were and how I felt about them. And, I'd be lying if I still didn't have a little bit of that, like certain guys that I want to beat more than others. We always want to win, but there's always that little added motivation for some reason. But that's really helped me become a better driver and a way more consistent driver, is to just focus on us and to beat us, what we did the prior run. We just want to get better every single time. So that's our goal.
002 in the first round. I'm guessing that was probably not the plan.
No, that was definitely not the plan. I was set up to be 20. I staged really shallow, so I didn't keep the system by any means. I'm not sure if things changed on Sunday. It was definitely a little bit more cloudy. I'm usually amped up on Sundays, which is worth only 100. So, I mean, even if I crushed it, I should have only been 10 on the tree. So that was definitely too close for comfort. I came back to the pit. My team owner said, "What are you doing?" So I worked on my clutch pedal for second round, and my crew chief, Rick, he always just tells me, if you can be 15 to 20 all day, I can't ask any more of that from you. We give you a car, we win the race. So I just set up to be mid-teens, early 20s, and that's what we were the rest of the day. So it worked out perfectly. But that first round, I mean, I hate first round. It's crazy. We've lost a couple of times more this year than we have last year, being on the pole and having to race a number 16 qualifier and go out there and shake or do something stupid. So that was definitely not what I wanted to do. But we got better as the day went on, and thank God that was 002 on the right side of the green.
Yeah. You have improved a lot on the lights. It wasn't that you were a bad lever, but there was probably more, and I think you would agree, probably more consistency issues more than anything else. But over time, you've also become one of the best levers in the pits, as well as improving on the consistency. Where do you see that improvement coming from?
I really pride myself on my driving, but I've never had in my professional career what I have at Elite Motorsports with Richard Freeman and Rick and Ricky Jones and Mark Ingersoll as my crew chiefs and the rest of my guys that work on my car. It is such a close-knit group. We have a lot of natural team chemistry, and I have trust in them. Not that I didn't trust my guys in the past, but I know these guys have my back no matter what. And every time before my team owner, he's the one that pulls me into the lights, before he shuts my door, he'll lean in and he'll say something funny, and he'll always end with, just have fun. Like, this just doesn't matter. We're out here racing to have a good time. It's not life or death. We want to win all the time, but just having that positive reinforcement and not the pressure of disappointing them if I do something stupid makes it better for me. And I'm so thankful for that, because I've always been okay and a good driver, and the longer I've driven, the better I've gotten. But the last 2 years, I think it shows every week how great I am, and that's because of my team. I give them all of the credit.
Winner at the Lucas Oil Nationals and the 2014 Pro Stock champion. Those are all great things, but we're coming up to the U.S. Nationals, something that is not on your resume, a win at the U.S. Nationals. How important is this for you to get that checked off your list?
Definitely very important, especially since it's worth 1.5 points, and the last race before we go into the countdown. So we have a very slight lead over Greg Anderson right now, and it's important to us to go into the countdown in the number one position. You get a 30-point cushion over the other guys. So we could have definitely used that last year, and it wouldn't have been such an exciting finish, but we could have used it, and that's obviously our goal this year. I mean, the U.S. Nationals is our Super Bowl. It's the most prestigious race of the year, and I feel like I had one stolen from me in 2012 with the way things went down in the finals with my then teammate Dave Connolly, and it wasn't cool, and I'm going back after it. I feel like we're determined to get it done.
Now, don't give me this this faceless, nameless opponent over here, because there are some of those, and I guess you explained that, but there are some of those guys that you really want to rip their throats out.
Yes, absolutely.
Last question. Abby Shea was on over your driver's door. Explain that story.
Sure. Abby Shea is a little girl from Pauls Valley, Oklahoma, which is about 10 minutes up the road from our shop in Wynnewood. And she's a senior in high school, tremendous softball player. And earlier in 2014, she was diagnosed with a form of leukemia, and she beat it and was in remission, and just went back for her final checkup, a month or so ago, and it's back. So she's having to go through some pretty tough times right now, and going to have a bone marrow transplant. And we just wanted to really raise awareness. And I talked a minute ago about how racing's just racing, and things like this are what are important. And we want to use our platform to help her and to raise awareness about leukemia, but then also help raise funds for her family. She's her mom and dad and got another sibling, so we don't want to put any strain on their family. And we've already had some pro stock racers with huge hearts that have donated huge amounts of money, and we just wanted to raise awareness for her. And she's a tough girl who has a tremendous faith in the good Lord, and has given it all to him. So it's actually very inspiring to learn something from somebody that's younger than us, and watch how she fights for her life.
Good cause. Winner at the U.S. Nationals this weekend at Brainerd, and the 2014 Pro Stock champion, Erica Ender-Stevens. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time, and good luck at the U.S. Nationals.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, we will talk to, speaking of the Lucas Oil Nationals, we will talk to the driver of the Lucas Oil Dragster and the winner of the Lucas Oil race. Coming up, Richie Crampton will join us next.
You're listening to The Straight Line. More right after this.
It's O'Rewards Member Appreciation Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Stop in today and check out store-wide savings, plus earn double points on over 150 items. It's our way of saying thank you. If you're not already a member, sign up today during O'Rewards Member Appreciation Month. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Dale Jr. here. I wear Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans for any occasion. With new styles and great fits, you'll look good and feel comfortable anytime, anywhere.
Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans are built with a U-shaped construction, so they give you more room where you need it. And their 4-way flex technology moves with you for all-day comfort.
In the garage or out and about, Wrangler knows the ins and outs of comfort. Wrangler, real comfortable jeans.
Listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts with Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
For being here on a Wednesday afternoon, it is The Straight Line here on MRN.com. My co-host and colleague, Doug Herbert, is in Washington, D.C. this week, speaking in front of Congress on the epidemic of teen driving deaths. And obviously, Doug's program and foundation, the Brakes Foundation, right in the midst of training teens to be better drivers to help prevent such issues. And so he's up in Washington, D.C. to speak on that. He will be back next week as we preview the U.S. Nationals at Indianapolis. We are awaiting the phone call of Richie Crampton. And what is going on right now at Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis is that there's testing going on for the U.S. Nationals, and we think that Richie is about knee-deep in testing and maybe doing a run as we speak. So we are awaiting the phone call of Richie Crampton to talk about his win this week at Brainerd. So while we're doing that, let's take a look at the point standings right now and some of the interesting things that happened this weekend, especially in the funny car ranks, because that – and in Pro Stock motorcycles, where the real interesting jockeying for position is happening. First of all, at the top, normally we're looking down at the bottom in the bump spot and who's going to make it and who's not into the countdown. But a significant move was made by Jack Beckman, courtesy of that 20 points that he got for the world record ET at Brainerd. Now Jack Beckman has moved up to the top spot. Eric Enders just talked about it, is that the number one spot in each category gets an extra 30 points. Well, that 30 points could be well more than what you need to win a championship once you get to Pomona in that 6th race of the countdown. So a very significant move made by Jack Beckman to the top of the funny car points. Matt Hagan now is 50 points behind, so that's 2.5 rounds out of first place. And with points and a half at Indy coming up, again, Erica talked about that. Everybody is pretty aware of the significant moves that you can make, but right now Jack Beckman has made the most. Going from Norwalk to Denver to Sonoma to Seattle and Brainerd, nobody has earned more points by far than Jack Beckman, and it is showed as he is now 50 points up on Matt Hagan. Hagan was far and away further than anybody else in funny car, now sits in second place. Tommy Johnson Jr. right now, who has also made up a significant amount of points, 121 points back of his teammate Jack Beckman, and John Force sitting there in the fourth spot at 195 back. Your top five being Del Worsham, the last driver in the top five. 6 through 10, Ron Capps, Tim Wilkerson. And by the way, a great weekend for Tim Wilkerson at Brainerd. He's been a guy that who will tell anybody that will listen to him, hey, we're not a team right now that can run the monster runs. We're not going to go out there and set world records, and we're not going to go out there and set big low times. They ran twice 392 at Brainerd this weekend, which is absolutely incredible for that team. So I don't know if Tim Wilkerson is playing a little cat and mouse or maybe hiding in the weeds, but, man, they brought out a couple of huge runs at Brainerd this weekend. They are currently in the 7th spot. Courtesy of his win this weekend, Robert Hight finds himself in 8th place, putting a little distance between he and Cruz Pedregon and Alexis DeJoria, who right now are in 9th and 10th place. Courtney Force now on the outside looking in and has been for a little bit. And a couple of rounds behind Alexis DeJoria. Now, what do Alexis and Courtney have in common? Boy, they took wild rides this weekend. The super slow-mos on ESPN's coverage were absolutely phenomenal. I don't know how any more sideways you can get a funny car without wrecking it or putting it into the wall. Alexis did, and that was the thing that got her straightened out. Courtney Force sat there and went one way, and the next way, and then over-rotated again. I mean, she was sideways right in the middle of that lane about 13 different times, up on 2 wheels at least 6 times. It's just an absolutely incredible save by Courtney Force, but unfortunately, that was her first-round loss, and wasn't able to gain any points on Alexis DeJoria, who did basically the same thing. Got it in the middle of the track and then over-rotated it, and that thing started up on 2 wheels on both sides and eventually kissed the wall near the traps. Fortunately, nobody was hurt in either incident, and I think Alexis' car probably a little bit worse for wear, but I don't think that it's going to be any big deal, and they will be at Indy with full guns blazing, trying to get into the countdown. Now, in Pro Stock Motorcycle, which is the other category that we're looking closely at as far as points is concerned, congratulations, by the way, goes to Eddie Krawick. Krawick, the winner again. That's 3 in a row for him, and actually 4 in a row now if you put in the Pro Bike Battle. Eddie Krawick's got that Harley-Davidson tuned up and running on mean heading into Indianapolis with another win this weekend at Brainerd, and he is far and away number 1 in Pro Stock Motorcycle points. Hector Arana Jr., Andrew Hines, Karen Stouffer, and Jimmy Underdahl, your top 5 right now. A big run for Jimmy Underdahl in the points, Minnesota native, and so he was kind of the hometown favorite in Pro Stock this weekend. Unfortunately, couldn't get the job done and grab his first Wally in front of the home fans. 6 through 10, Jerry Savoie, Matt Smith, Hector Arana, Scotty Polachek, and Ellie Tonglet round out the top 10. Now, this is where it really gets interesting because Chip Ellis is only 2.5 rounds out of getting in. Chip Ellis with one of the best bikes right now. Unfortunately, they've got to get the driver and the bike in sync. Once they get that done, they could be, if they get into the countdown, a major player in the countdown. But right now, they're on the outside looking in. It's been a really phenomenal season for Ellis, if you think about it, because he didn't even start the season. He went down to Atlanta for Junior Pippin and was just there to help tune the bike, get it in the show, and they did so, and has been with him ever since. By the way, on the topic of Junior Pippin, we want to send our best out to Junior and his family right now battling some health concerns, and we know Junior is a fighter, and he's going to be in there swinging. So it's going to be a big fight for him. But our best go out to Junior Pippin and his family and the team. Angèle Sampey is also not out of it. She is in 12th, and she's about 3 rounds out of the countdown and getting into the countdown. And with points being what they are, 1.5 at Indy, this could be really interesting in Pro Stock Motorcycle once we come into the countdown. When we return, we will talk to the winner of the Funny Car division at Brainerd. Robert Hight joins us next.
This is The Straight Line. More right after this.
It's O'Rewards Member Appreciation Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Earn double points on 5 quarts of Castrol GTX conventional motor oil and a MicroGuard filter for $22.99. Or upgrade to Castrol GTX high mileage for $24.99. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is Steve Post.
And I'm Kendra Jacobs.
Join us every Saturday morning at 9:30 Eastern Time for MRN's Wing Nation on MAV TV.
We'll talk with the biggest names in winged sprint car racing, from the world of outlaws to your local winged sprint car track. We cover it all.
Plus, we'll preview each weekend's biggest wing sprint car races from around the country.
MRN's Wing Nation, 9:30 Eastern Time, Saturday mornings on MAV TV.
If you don't get MAV TV, go to getmavtv.com to find your local TV provider and let them know you want MAV TV.
It's The Straight Line.
Brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Here's more with Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Thanks for being here on The Straight Line on MRN.com. Doug Herbert has the week off. He will rejoin us next week. And joining us on the telephone line right now is the driver of the Auto Club Chevy Camaro for John Force Racing and winner of the Funny Car division this weekend at the Lucas Oil Nationals. Robert Hight joins us. Robert, first of all, thanks for being here. I know that you got a lot going on over at Indy and testing and everything, so thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Marty. How did Doug get the week off? Come on.
Well, he's in Washington, D.C., actually speaking in front of Congress for the Brakes Foundation. So he did get an excused week off. Let's just put it
Definitely.
that way.
Yeah, well deserved then.
And no doubt it. And speaking of good timing for you, being at the bump spot, and then all of a sudden now in 7th place, courtesy of that win this weekend in Brainerd. You couldn't have timed that any better.
Yeah, no, it's and trust me, we don't like drama over here. It's, this was crazy. We thought we'd win races a long time before this, but it's been a tough year, and we've turned it around. It's starting to come together. It was I've never done well at Brainerd, so it was good to get a victory there. And what was cool is to get a victory at a race where so many performance barriers were reset. And we didn't just luck into it. We ran well, just like everybody else, and we got the win. So it's pretty gratifying. But we're back at it here in Indy testing and trying to get better. The Schumacher cars, they've been the class of the field so far this year. But in one weekend, we closed the gap pretty good. So we've got a lot of work to do, and we're going to try to close that gap again some more for the Indy race. There
was a rain delay that postponed the start of the Brainerd event by about 3 hours. Cold front came in, and when we talk about cold front, I mean, that's usually really good news for you guys. Was Zippy over there with kind of a nervous twitch, frothing at the mouth trying to get at this thing, because knowing that the air temperature was like 55 and the track temperature was in the upper 60s, I mean, you had to have been thinking huge runs all weekend, or at least all Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're racing Ron Capps first round, you know what he's capable of. So
yeah.
You've got to get out there, and you've got to be aggressive. It's actually harder to tune one of these things under those kind of conditions, because if you don't give it enough, they're going to shake. And, it's just there's such good traction, and the track's got so much bite that you've got to get after it and get some wheel slip. And, racing Ron Capps isn't an easy first round. So it was Mike Neff and the whole team did a great job. We were on a really, really good run first round, and it carried the front end, and it didn't leave straight. And I had to set it down because it got over to the wall and back on the throttle and pedal it. But we put up numbers real close to Hagen, to the 330-foot clock, and then I had to lift. So it was on a run first round that was pretty amazing.
And I think it was something like 220 to the 330 mark. I mean, that's chugging.
Yeah, that's as good as it's ever been for just about anybody. So yeah, we're excited, but we know we still got some work to do.
I think if memory serves, that you also had basically the same kind of run in the third round against Wilkerson, and it wasn't like you had to go out there and just throw something at Wilkerson. He'd run 2 straight 392s, but it appeared that the car wanted to take a big turn to the right, and then you had to grab it, put it back into the lane, and still ran 392.
Exactly. That was, for whatever reason, they were moving me way inside, on Sunday in the left lane, and the car was wanting to go to the right. Johns did it. I saw Beckman's do it, but you had to get it right back. But, when the front end's light and you're really trucking like this, it's hard to get it back. And then it made a move. I got it back, and I had to get it go the other direction because it took too much of a move. And, looking at that, it's amazing that it even stuck that run. But it just shows you how good the conditions were.
The win puts you also into the tracks, a shootout where now you don't have to compete against Courtney and a fan vote. That's got to take the.
Would you want to be up against her
in
a fan vote?
No, not at all. Yeah. I mean, so that takes the pressure off, at least in one aspect.
Exactly. We 2 years ago I wasn't in the Traxxas shootout. Last year got to the final against John, and it's not fun to be at Indy and not be in that Traxxas shootout. Yeah. So I'm excited for my team. I think we've got a tough first round with Matt Hagen. It's going to be a good race, and we're looking for big things next week. We're excited. We moved ourselves up the points pretty good, but we still believe there's a couple spots to go, especially with the 1.5 deal at Indy. And we're gonna do the best we can. And once you're in that countdown, anything can happen.
The win puts you 4th all time now. 4th, Robert, in funny car wins. 35 ties you with some guy named Prudhomme and Cruz Pedregon. Have you been able to absorb those sorts of numbers?
No, not even close. I mean, to even be mentioned with those two gentlemen is amazing. And Cruz Pedregon's still out here kicking butt, and he hasn't won his last race. I promise you that.
Yeah.
But Don Prudhomme, man, that guy, I grew up watching him, and can't even believe that I get to drive a funny car, let alone have as many wins as him now.
Not to divulge, trade secrets or whatever, but obviously over the last just a couple of weeks, funny car world record has been lowered by almost a 10th, not 100th, not 1,000th, a 10th. Where are the gains coming in the funny car class? Maybe just in a general sense.
Yeah, I can't talk about that. I don't get to work on these cars anymore, so they don't tell me everything they're doing. But it is amazing. Jimmy Prock definitely found something on the Western Swing, and got us all to thinking and looking and working real hard. Then we sent our two funny cars, Courtney and John, down to Norwalk for Night Under Fire. And I guess that was a huge success. They packed the place, and it was just an unbelievable show that Phil Bader put on. But our guys took the most of that, and they tested all day long, even before the show in the evening. And they were calling me, giving me updates. And it was pretty exciting knowing that, I got to go to Brainerd and put a bunch of new things on my car. And first run we made at Brainerd, it went 399. And then my career best next run was 397. So it's definitely paid off what the guys did and what they learned in Norwalk. And that's what we're hoping out here this week is we can make some more big gains.
And obviously with the opportunity to test at Indianapolis before the U.S. Nationals. That's also comes at a really good time for you guys. Robert, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and because I know that you guys are really busy doing all that testing. So we appreciate your time and joining us here on the Straight Line, and good luck in the U.S. Nationals.
Thanks for having me, guys, and hopefully I can call you in a little over a week and we can chat again.
We'll do that. Robert Hight, driver of the Auto Club Chevy Camaro for John Force Racing, winner of the winner of the Lucas Oil Nationals at Brainerd, and getting ready for the U.S. Nationals coming up in Indianapolis. When we return, we will talk Top Fuel with Robert's Top Fuel teammate. Brittany Force will be here next.
You're listening to The Straight Line. More right after this.
The road to victory lane isn't just for drivers anymore. Introducing the official daily fantasy game of NASCAR at DraftKings.com, America's favorite daily fantasy sports site. Just pick a team of 5 drivers and stay under the salary cap. Outscore your opponents and win. Hurry to DraftKings.com now and use promo code COAST to play for free. You could win part of the $1 billion in prizes being awarded this year. Enter COAST to play for free now at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
Dale Jr. here. I wear Wrangler Advanced Comfort Jeans for any occasion. With new styles and great fits, you'll look good and feel comfortable anytime, anywhere.
Wrangler Advanced Comfort Jeans are built with a U-shaped construction, so they give you more room where you need it. And their 4-way flex technology moves with you for all-day comfort.
In the garage or out and about, Wrangler knows the ins and outs of comfort. Wrangler, real comfortable jeans.
It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now here's Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Big thanks to Robert Hight and Erica Ender-Stevens for joining us today on The Straight Line. We're joined on the telephone line right now by the driver of the Monster Energy Top Fuel Dragster for John Force Racing. Brittany Force joins us. Brittany, thanks a lot for your time. We really appreciate it, and a really good weekend to get into another final round and rack up a lot of points for your Monster team.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, we just came off a pretty awesome weekend. Went to the finals, and our Monster Energy team really needed it. We needed it for points to, move up there and stay in the fight for the countdown. And it just kind of pumped us all up going into Indy. It's the biggest race of the season. We're here now testing, and excited to be here.
With the cool conditions, there was obviously about a 3-hour break before you even started. The conditions were really cool. Everybody's thinking, hey, we got to be set for big runs. But your team is more known for consistency than the big runs. So what was your mindset, you and Todd Smith and Ronnie Thompson and everybody on the Monster team going into the first round?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It's always difficult for not just the entire team, but especially the driver when, you're ready to go into first round and you pull up there in the lanes and it starts to rain. They pull you back, and it's just a waiting game. You're waiting to, to find out the weather. So that always presents a challenge in itself. But, that's what got us to the final round was consistency. Yeah, people were laying some pretty good numbers, putting some good numbers on the board. And, we had some great runs too, but it was all about consistency. Our dragster went down there every single run and turned on that wind light, to get us all the way to we went out in the final rounds against Richie Crampton. But it was still a good weekend for us. We learned a lot, and we're going to try to do it again, but go one step further this next weekend.
What do you do during a rain delay, especially if it's a couple of minutes? You can go out and sign autographs or whatever.
Yep, exactly.
But if it's 3 hours, obviously you got a lot of time on your hands and you're chomping at the bit. You're ready to go. What are you doing during that time? It just to try to kill some time.
I have a pretty awesome team. I'm very lucky to have such a great group of guys to work with. So we all hang out, and it's really just back and forth at the ropes, signing autographs. When you have kids come up and it's out there raining, you want to make sure you get every single one of them. So, it's just downtime. We don't have a lot of that out here usually. Yeah. But when we do have it, it's just hanging out with the team and hanging out with the fans, signing autographs, and, just waiting for them to call us up.
0-6 in finals. I mean, I guess the good news is that you've been to 6 finals. It's kind of a good news, bad news situation. Your dad lost a bunch of final rounds before he won his first, and now he's 150 some odd wins in. So, I mean, that's kind of the good news, is that if your potential is maybe 150 some odd wins somewhere down along the line. What has your dad given you as far as advice is on the finals front?
On the final, going into a final, he just tells me, do your thing. You got here. Usually he'll come over and he'll start telling me all these things, and it's like, whoa, give me one thing to focus on. and then he'll stop himself and say, you know what? Forget all that. You got us here, so you and the entire team, you're going into this final. You got us here, so just do what you've been doing. And that's usually what his advice is. Going into a big round like that was for us last weekend. Yeah,
and obviously this is kind of no question, it's disappointing. When you've been that close so many times, has he been able to give you some advice on dealing with the disappointment of not getting that win so far?
He just reminds me how many years it took him until he got his first win. So that definitely helps that I could, a little bit relate to him on that.
Yeah.
But it's funny because, my first few final rounds that I went to, jumped out on the other end, and it was, obviously I wanted to turn on that win light, but I was still excited about it, that our team had made it to a final round. That was a big deal. Even though we were taken out in the final round, it was still very exciting for our team. And now I've noticed, I don't know if it's just because they keep stacking up and, like you just said, we've been to 6 final rounds now, but they definitely get a little bit tougher. I'm not as excited when I hop out on the other end now. I'm ready to turn that win light on and take that win home.
Yeah, you're ticked off because you didn't win. That's huge.
Exactly. It's definitely a bummer, but you got to stay positive. The entire team stays positive, so we could get back out there and do it again.
We haven't talked to you since, I don't believe, since Monster has come on board. What's it been like to have that sponsor now on the side of your car and something that you can put out in front of the folks?
Gosh, it's very exciting. Just to be teamed up with a company like Monster Energy is a huge deal. And everyone over here in our pits, we're all very proud to, be able to wear the Monster gear and take our car out on the racetrack that has, the Monster claw down. The car looks awesome. And, we just want to bring home a win for Monster Energy.
Now in Indy, and testing for the U.S. Nationals coming up, and obviously the Traxxas Shootout is coming up, and you have the opportunity to get into the Traxxas Shootout with the fan vote. Yes. So tell us a little bit about how that works.
Yes, the Traxxas Shootout, there's 1 spot left in Funny Car, 1 spot left in Top Fuel, and it is a fan vote. So Courtney and I are hoping to steal that last spot. You can go ahead and vote at nhrifanhub.com. Voting goes until next Tuesday at noon, so we're hoping to get that fan vote and give this Monster Energy team a chance to take home another win.
Robert said the pressure is off him now. He doesn't have to go up against Courtney in a fan vote because he knows who is probably going to win that one.
You never know. It's a big lottery deal downtown. Yeah, you want to get as many votes as you can. You have a better chance, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's the lottery. It's a whole lottery thing, so anything can happen. Anyone can win.
Speaking of Courtney, a big event for her tonight in Indianapolis. Kind of a cool deal with the basketball game going on tonight.
Yeah, she's got a lot of cool things she's done this year, so that's something she should be very proud of. I know she is, and I can't wait to hear all about it.
Goals for the rest of your season. Obviously, getting into the countdown, maybe winning the U.S. Nationals, obviously topping the list. But what are some of the other goals that you have for yourself this year?
Just improving as a driver myself. Really, this year I've been struggling with reaction times. I keep going through phases where I get on it and I'm pretty comfortable, pretty good at it, and then I just go through the slump of I can't get it figured out. And really, I want to focus on consistent lights, consistent good lights that we can work with. Some of these guys knock some lights that are just insane. I hope I can get there one day, but I just want to be, proud at the end of the day that I did my job, and that's something I'm struggling with, but I'm definitely working on and hoping to, get it turned around now that we're going into the countdown.
And
obviously bring home our first win.
No question about that. Is this something that you work with Todd Smith, Ronnie Thompson, and the crew about? Obviously you're very consistent when you come off the line. They know what to expect from you. So is that helping them as far as the tune-up and what they're putting under you when you pull up into the lights?
Absolutely. It always makes it easier. I mean, if I try to, if I'm back and forth all over the board, it's more of a challenge for them to work with. But if I'm pretty consistent, especially on race day, that just makes the flow of everything go a little bit easier and, gives us something to work with.
And what's in store for you for the rest of the day? Obviously, you're testing out there. Have you made any runs so far?
Not yet. I just suited up. I'm in my fire suit. We just warmed up and should be heading up pretty soon. So keep your fingers crossed. We're hoping to, get some good runs in.
And heading out for testing at Indianapolis. Finalists this weekend at Brainerd International Raceway, the driver of the Monster Energy Top Fuel dragster, Brittany Force. Thanks so much for joining us. We know you're busy, so we appreciate your time. Good luck in testing, and good luck at the U.S. Nationals coming up.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And trying to get into the Traxxas Shootout all at the same time. Here's how you do so. For those that want to get in on the voting on the Traxxas Shootout, there's a list of drivers, both in Funny Car and in Top Fuel, 2 different events. So you can vote for 2 different drivers in the in Funny, or 2 different drivers, one each in Funny Car and in Dragster. You can go to www.nhrA.com/fanhub.com. And once you get there, then there's a list of drivers that will come up. And you can vote for your favorite driver that you would like to see in the Traxxas Shootout. That'll be on the Saturday of U.S. Nationals weekend. And obviously, that always ends up being an event within an event, where you have back in the day, it was the Skull Shootout, and it was the Winston Shootout, and there's been a lot of different sponsors. But during the course of qualifying, you're also competing in an event. Traxxas has put up the money for that for the last couple of years, and a huge trophy that goes along with a huge check as well. If I'm not mistaken, Spencer Massey was telling me that I believe the trophy is like 35 pounds. It's huge. And so you got to get a workout in so you can lift that trophy above your head. So, again, to vote in the Traxxas Shootout, go to www.nhrA.com/fanhub.com and to get your vote in for the Traxxas Shootout. Next Wednesday will be the drawing for the to see who gets in the both Funny Car and the Dragster categories of the Traxxas Shootout. Want to thank everybody for being a part of the show. Eric Anders Stevens, Robert Hight, and Brittany Force for joining us on today's show. And coming up next week, Doug Herbert will be back with us. I'm Marty Hough, and we will talk to you next week right here on The Straight Line.
You've been listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Tune in next Wednesday at noon for more NHRA talk. The Straight Line is also available on demand in the MRN.com Media Center or download from iTunes or Stitcher. The Straight Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.